Hello everyone, I'm Indra Bartona and warm welcome to the Positivity Vibe Tribe podcast. Today's topic is where we talk about how to avoid burnout, and there's a lot of preventative strategies discussed. I'm hosting this space, of course, with Success Minded and our local community who are going to join us and speak about their experiences with burnout. So remember to like and subscribe, and I'm sending you love, light, and blessings. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Positivity Vibe Tribe show. I'm Indra Bartona, a producer in the film and television industry, TV host, and the founder of the Positivity Vibe Tribe. Originally from the Gold Coast, Australia, lived in London for several years, now based in Los Angeles. A little bit of background on the Positivity Vibe Tribe. Some of the main topics that we talk about in spaces are abundance mindset, self care, gratitude, mindfulness, law of attraction, meditation, affirmations, and so much more you can catch on my YouTube channel. And of course, today, thank you for joining us to our co host, Stephen J. Casciano. He's our behind the scenes team member, and he's also our all things tech, including crypto and AI technology. So do reach out to Stephen if you have any inquiries about those topics. And of course, we are hosting this space with Success Minded. This is where PVT joins forces with Success Minded's community. Our mission of supporting and growing community is perfectly aligned, plus the essence of our content works beautifully in harmony. He's grown his community to over 600,000 members by writing unique content and motivating people. He's a lifelong learner and always is looking to grow himself mentally, physically, and intellectually. While he grows, he makes sure to take his community on path of growth as well. So, on that note, official warm welcome to Success Minded. All right, so Success Minded, I know that we had this great post and we've reposted it in the chat. A couple of days ago, there's about 7 signs you're dealing with burnout. Did you want to start by maybe we could start going one by one, or if you want to share some of also your experience of burnout, just to kind of set the tone here?
Yeah, sure. And thank you everyone for in the chat. Letting us know who is breaking out. It seems I was breaking out in the beginning, and Indra in the beginning, but I believe it's smoothing out. I think it's got to do something with the spaces again. They're always changing stuff and they're always breaking stuff, but whatever. I'm glad we hosted this space at the end on an occasion, a very wonderful occasion actually. Today is June 21 here. Okay. And June 21 is, well, as you might know, International Yoga Day. And as yoga and meditation and mindfulness has been a core part of our brand for some time. So to be able to host this space today was something of an honor. And we might have actually done a space on yoga, but that was not to be because this topic was supposed to be on Friday actually, but I fell sick and we cannot do the space separately. Without me, Indra said, it would be very hard. So we ended up pushing it to today, but today was actually supposed to be International Yoga Day. So we might do this later on where we talk about yoga and its benefits and what it can do for you. And trust me, you would want to hear that. Yoga is much more than just stretching, holding poses, and physical exercise. It is much more than that. So we'll probably host that some other day. But keeping well connected to yoga is this topic, burnout prevention strategies. And I think yoga can be a great way to prevent burnout because if you think about burnout, it's a stressed out situation. It is a frustrated situation where we are not aligned, when our mind, body, and soul are not aligned. When we are working one of these uh, one of these things, either our minds, our bodies, or our spiritual selves too much, are these three things, they become disaligned, they become desynchronized. And that's when I believe this phenomenon of burnout comes up. And yoga, I believe, is a great way to connect these things. It's a great link between these different aspects of yourself. And there are different activities, asanas, as they are called in yoga, which are specifically designed for each aspect of your body. Sure, there are exercise related things like for your body, right? But there are also things that you do for your mind. There are also things that you do for your connecting your spiritual self. So that's something I wanted to add into this conversation first up. How yoga can be a way to not only prevent not only prevent burnout, but if you're in a state of burnout right now, it can be one of the ways you can get out of it. Right? Sure, you might not recognize you are in a burnt out situation. When we are pretty burnt out, we are the last person to know, right? Everybody around us knows, but sometimes they think it's a bit rude to tell. And also, if somebody is looking at you from externally, they don't actually, they don't, they might not know that you're burnt out. But until a time that you realize you're inching towards burning out, or you have already, it's sometimes too late. So even if you are in that situation, I think things like yoga, meditation, gratitude, those can be some great ways to get out of it. And of course, prevention. If you keep practicing these things, I believe that that is a great way to prevent burnout. So those are some of the things I wanted to add to the conversation. First up, I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, as you know, I am a huge fan of yoga, practicing since I was 5 years of age. And so happy Yoga Day to everybody who's celebrating in India. It is just a beautiful, beautiful practice. So I love that you brought that up. What a special day. And we can definitely, in the near future, plan on a yoga discussion space because I think it's such an important topic. So I did want to share a little bit about actually experiencing burnout. And it was actually the reason why I changed from more of a corporate job to focusing more on my creative producing areas in film and television and doing more hosting work and more the creative stuff and working as a creator. So the thing is, when I didn't realize that I was experiencing burnout, but I was just finding that I always felt like I was chasing my tail. And it was pretty aggressive, my schedule, because I was working between London and Washington, D.C., on a global project, and also reporting in to various people in Australia. So there was like this global project that was happening, and there was a lot of flying around, right, between countries. And of course, a lot of that flying around, even, I would say, trickled into my weekend as well. So, sometimes there was, I was flying back to base, which was London, on a Friday night. And then Sunday, of course, I was flying out. And that's taking up more and more of my time. And I started to realize, like, wow, I'm just constantly tired. It doesn't matter how much I slept. It was just this it was more of being emotionally exhausted, and even, struggling to work, like to focus on my work. I realized like there was what is going on, like I at some point the realization hit me of, you know, I I'm really struggling to get all my work done. And, and that then just feeds into the stress, right? So, you feel like you're on this roller coaster ride of, basically just going to work, trying to catch up every day, and then doing the same thing, just turning around and coming back and almost losing control of, everything that you have in your life. And, I like the first thing also that when I was trying to realize, like, well, what is going on? I was not attending a lot of other like social functions and things, like even work related, friends or family or anything related, right? I wouldn't even do anything on Saturdays, on a Saturday night. I would just be so exhausted from the week that I was just staying in and trying to like just recover and I felt like I was missing out on some things. I feel like I missed out on a few really valuable experiences. And, so I'm actually almost checking off what the thread was about. The first thing was, um, noticing this emotional exhaustion. And then the second thing, sort of starting to isolate from other people. I mean, this is one thing that we think, well, there is one idea about, okay, I need my self-care time, but there's another level of, okay, I'm just not seeing anybody, kind of thing, and not responding to phone calls and text messages at all. There's one thing to have your alone time, but there's another level of, wow, I even forgot to respond, or what messages or what phone calls. So, and you know, in the thread, it's also in that second point of finding creative ways to avoid people. Well, I was just the master of that because I would just get more and more creative about it. And it, basically you just focus on your work because I was just thinking I'm in constant catch up mode. And then number three is one of my favorites, creating a series of escape fantasies. Well, okay. So even though I was living in London, and until I started to get a grip on this, I was more like fantasizing about going to Paris than actually going to Paris. Eventually, yes, I went to Paris 4 to 6 times or something, probably five, I think it was, to be exact. But in those initial, months, when I first got there, and also the pressure of the new job and everything, I would just be online dreaming about going to Paris rather than actually doing it. And so, and then I found myself also, even in my lunch break at work, thinking about things like, oh, just dreaming about going to Paris. And then I found it difficult to go back and focus on my work. So these escape fantasies are real. They really are. And I really feel like number 3 is something that a lot of us probably experience. I have to say it's not a bad thing if you're going to journal about it as an escape, but if you're taking too much of your time away from your life, I think that's when the signal is, and that's what I realized. And pretty much my performance at work was starting to suffer until I got a real grip on things and I understood. And across, like, number 4 is like your performance suffers in all areas of your life. Well, I have to say that because you're not making those valuable connections with your friends and family outside of work either. So that's something to really be mindful of. And then feeling ill or unwell. Well, I was getting, not that I got really ill, but I was getting just constant little colds. If there was a cold going around the office, I probably would get it. Just things like that where my immune system was down. And I have to say that I wasn't really as conscious of eating healthy as I could have or should have been, right? So all those things start to come together because your entire life starts to suffer. And then, it's difficult to stay optimistic, which is point number 6. You become more pessimistic. So, because you're struggling. So everything seems to be a struggle, and it's hard to see the silver lining. Uh, and then the last one, just increased levels of irritability. Well, that happens because, well, you're so stressed out. And I also remember just feeling just like I had to take a moment, a pause between every phone call, or every email almost, and just kind of center myself and just try to focus and not feel emotional, because you're feeling emotional and irritable because you're not getting enough sleep, you're stressed, and it's just this constant cycle of being in this little rat cage and just running and running, right? Because that's the only thing that you can do at that time, as far as what I remember being experiencing the burnout is, you know, just thinking, well, I can't stop. I can't stop anything. I've got to keep it all going. I've got to keep juggling and spinning all the plates. Send up some emojis if any of you have experienced any of these things. Um, People in the tribe, because we'd love to know. Um, but back over to you, Success Minded. That was just kind of like I was walking through actually the experience and reflecting on our thread.
Yeah, firstly, great thread, Indra. That was like really well written. And leave a comment on how you guys feel about the visual. I made that. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I relate to so much of it. I relate to, just, this constant rush that I feel. I've never like gone into the whole dead end of the burnout spectrum, as it is a spectrum, it is different stages of burnout. But I've never gone to the very end of the spectrum where I was like completely burnt out, and my body was not like given. I was very close to it, yes, at one point, but I've never gone into it. And it's true. I got into it when I was like working on building this page up, and also working out like really really hard. Just pushing myself. At that time I was a pretty active in sports in college, and that meant I had to train really hard. And especially during the pandemic, I was like, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life, and I'm going to be the best athlete in the college. And at the same time I was going this pace, so I was like having these constant, probably 20-hour days every day. And just working, just doing something, just working on myself. And although growth is important, personal growth is important, at that rate I was doing it, it was actually adding to the detriment of myself. I was being constantly very tired every day, very tired. And I would wake up tired, I would exercise tired, I would work tired, and I would go to sleep tired, and the same cycle repeated every single day. And I was lucky I got these signals early, and I started to take care of myself, start looking into self-care a bit more. And I did not go to the very end of the spectrum where, I was gonna, probably give up on everything, and give up everything I've built until that point. But, I'm glad I got the wake up call. So I like totally relate to you. And I totally relate to the points that was shared in the space, and in the thread, sorry. And uh, yeah, I totally relate to your story. And I feel like burnout in itself, a lot of people, I think, people relate burnout to depression. Remember, people, depression is very different from burnout. Depression is when you're feeling, there are similarities, of course, there are a lot of similarities. And that's why it is easy to think of depression as burnout. But the thing is, in depression, there is a big sense of hopelessness, which isn't there in burnout. When you're burnt out, you're just, you're not hopeless. You want to do something, you have ambition, you have hope, you have passion, right? But you just cannot do it, you just don't want to do it, right? Whereas when you're depressed, like, you don't want to do it. You think, it's not possible for me. There is no will, and there's hopeless. I'm just, the world doesn't matter. It's a pessimistic, very pessimistic way of living. But sure, Indra said that there is pessimism in a burnt out situation as well. But it's different. It's for the people that have had these experiences, they know, like they know it's very hard to describe it in words here. So that is the differentiation I actually want to make, so that people understand that if you're facing depression right now, this might not be the best space for you, right? We are not professional like healthcare advisors, and even we are not even qualified to talk about burnout probably, but this space is we're doing this space just to help some of you guys and help some of you guys understand that what burnout is, and maybe you will find out within yourself whether you are burnt out or you are in the process, in the journey of getting to that stage where you will be burnt out. So it's just an awareness space, and all the advice we share here today, we take it as something you would take from a friend. We're not giving you professional advice. Take it. We're just your friends here. We're talking. We're having this conversation. We want to hear back from you guys in the chat, which is in the bottom right corner. Is the chat bubble. You can click on it. You can share your thoughts here, and even come up to the conversation late in the conversation when we take up speakers. You can ask us questions, and we will try to give as friendly as advice as possible. And we love to have a chat about it. But coming back to what I was saying, burnout and depression are not the same thing. In burnout it's a situation where you're experiencing something where you are unable to feel positive emotions. You don't feel love. You don't feel affection. You don't feel positivity, happiness. Sure, there might be short spurts of happiness. You might uh, look up a meme on your phone and just laugh for a few times, but it's not a long term happiness. It's not something that carries on. It's not you cannot develop a positive state of mind, and that is a very difficult situation to be in. And I was when I was researching into this, it's very hard to come out of burnout. If you are in a state of burnout, it's very hard to actually come out of that, and it takes a long time, and it takes professional help. So if with the conversation that has happened so far and that will continue in a few next few hours, if you feel like you are experiencing burnout, like the severe stage of burnout, I would highly recommend you go and seek professional help, because friendly advice at that point will not help you, because that is a serious mental condition at that point and you need professional help. So I would highly recommend you seek out professional help. It's a very it's a like a classic thing that professionals help with. So if you reach out to them, they're of course going to help you. But the premise of this whole space, is basically to prevent burnout. Right? Why even go to that stage? Why even let yourself go to that space? That is what we are here to discuss today. And we already discussed some things. I mentioned yoga in the very beginning, but also things like uh, gratitude journaling, things like journaling in general, things like humor, things like listening to music, things like any sort of exercise. They help a lot in preventing burnout. You don't want to get yourself to that point where you don't want to allow yourself to be burned out. You want to prevent it. So these things, they do help a lot in preventing burnout. So there's something just that I wanted to add there, Indra, and would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Prevention is so much better than going down the road, having experienced it. And I was extremely lucky because I was able to get support from my aunt, who is a professional um, therapist. So at the time, I didn't even realize. Now that I read off, and thank you also for the artwork on the thread from yesterday. Beautiful artwork, but also it's easier to share a lot of the detail in the thread when you've actually experienced it. And but at the time, you may not. So your point, success minded, about this prevention point is really, really important because even if you have gone to the full extent of, okay, I've experienced burnout, and it's between, well, I can only just say for myself, it was probably between 2 to 6 months where I really felt back to my full energy, able to be working, and then just also going socializing without feeling like, oh, I should be doing work or something else that's more productive, all those things. So it could be anywhere between that time, or maybe it's more, maybe it's faster. But preventing actually going to that level is, I think, the key. And by coming back to, like, a lot of it comes back to your self care. And with self care, we've had many shows here and discussions in Twitter spaces about this topic, because it's so important, with our lives, and just just running around trying to balance everything. And life is really just balancing so many different areas, balancing, our family, our career, our health, our well being, our spiritual side, our emotional side. I mean, we are such complex beings. There's never, ever going to be a easy route. And in general, so many of us struggle in life. And I don't know, anybody that really has an easy life that just floats along, even if it looks like it on an Instagram page. That's not real life. That's an Instagram moment. So just remember that if you ever fall into the comparison mindset, which we can all do when our energy seems to go lower, we're searching for something. And that's when subconsciously we do compare ourselves, to the Instagram lifestyle of somebody that has created this whole thing, for their promotion of whatever they're doing at the time. And it's glossy, it's a magazine, but it's not real. And that's where we have to remember that. And that's the important piece for us to remember. But identifying those pieces of ourselves that, okay, well, we need to come back to basics. And when I talk about basics, are we getting enough sleep? Because it's these basics are the things that where things start to slip. Oh no, I don't need, 7 hours or 8 hours sleep or whatever it is. That's your optimum. Oh, I can just get by on 2 or 3. Oh no, I don't. When was the last time I ate a meal? Oh, well, that was like 6 hours ago. Uh, all of these sort of basic things, hydration. Success Minded has talked endlessly about the importance of hydration and how he's really on board with this. And I just can't even underestimate the value that, I mean, water is a life force for us. It's a basic, and it just provides us with so much energy alone. And we need food and good balanced nutrition, not just grabbing something because it's fast. So I think going back to some of those basics is really important, and just to ask yourself the questions, am I covering off the basics, in my life, as in looking towards preventing? And the last piece also with that prevention idea is just taking care of our health in general. Our health is our wealth, right? It's the most important thing. Um, Making sure that you even move your body a bit, particularly for many of us who are sitting in a desk, with our computers, or with our phones, and not always moving. So it's important to get up and move every now and again, and just kind of stretch your body, go for a walk, go get some water, um, get, a tea, a coffee, whatever your beverage of choice is, but just to move that body, and that's coming back to also yoga or stretching. Going for a walk has solved you know, uh, a lot of things for many people. Going for a walk around your block, It clears the mind, it clears the emotions, and you get to breathe in some fresh air. Go and sit in your garden, even. Sitting in your garden will just do wonders for you. If you have a garden or if there's a park nearby that's nice and that's quiet, just find some places that you can also go and just unwind. Even if it's just a 5 or 10 minute break throughout your day, it's a really good practice to get into. And I make a point of taking myself downstairs to my garden and sitting there with a cup of tea, green tea, matcha, whatever you like, a glass of water, and just unwinding and allowing myself to have a real break, not a break at my computer or, staring at my phone or playing it with my phone, a real break because we really need that. Okay, we need that solitude time sometimes. Uh, so back over to you, Success Minded. Love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, great points you mentioned there. And before I move forward, I want to thank some of our friends that have joined here recently. Jeff Funk has been here for some time. Hello, Jeff. Also, there is Seth Said, inspirational quotes. How are you guys? There is C Daily. There is Julia. There is Julie. And there is also Jules today. So a lot of Jules today. Hello, everyone. And also recently joined by Inner Practitioner. How are you guys? How are you doing? If you want to come on up, feel free to do so. The stage is always open for our friends here. And also we have someone new. I mean, new as in I've seen her very recently, Danielle. Thank you, Danielle, for joining. And John is here. So thank you so much, you guys, for joining us. And also, I think it's a good time to mention our sponsor today, which is none other than the Positivity Vibe Tribe. What do I mean by that? We launched a book last Wednesday and we hosted a book launch party in the space. And the thing is, we're giving away the book for free. Now, the the free period was supposed to last till Friday because that was supposed to be our next space. The free book uh, time was 3 days, Wednesday to Friday. But the thing is, I got sick and we had to push this space until today. So we decided, sure, we're going to increase the time limit for the space for the free period to today. So if you're listening to this right now and you haven't downloaded the book, this is probably your last opportunity to do so. Because in a few hours, when the space ends, I will remove the link to sign up and you won't get the book free after this. It will be a $20 paid book after this one, $25 actually, $25 paid book. So if you want to grab the opportunity and grab the launch discount, you can go to the chat here and there's a link to the book. Also, you can go to either Indra's or my profile, whichever is comfortable for you. And it is in my pinned tweet. And in case of Indra, it's like literally in her bio. So you can check it out. You can download the free book for yourself. You can sign up for the book and, download it whenever, read it whenever, according to your comfort. It is about taking control of your evolution. We have these primal desires, we have these primal instincts within us. And how do we take control of that to thrive in this modern world? And I think that is very important. I think burnout is also one of those topics that comes out of it where we want to push ourselves and like we want to push ourselves in the very moment. Right? We have these caveman brains that cannot think long term. And what ends up happening is that we want to do everything short term. We want to do everything right now, all the work that we can do, do it right now, which, forces our organs to, overwork, forces our brain to overwork, overstress, overfrustrate, and which forces our whole overall being to, be in this constant state of stress. And that ultimately, when you do that over a long period of time, when you every day you have this mindset where you want to do everything right now and not think sustainably, where you don't want to, think long term, burnout happens. So I think that is a very relevant book even in today's space. So if I'm repeating myself, if you haven't downloaded it yet, I'm going to end the free period in a few hours when the space ends. So this is your last opportunity. you can go and download the book in its chat or to our profile. So coming back to the topic, great points there you added there, Indra. And one thing that stood out to me was, you taking these this time off to rest, and I think is very important. Something that helped me as well, where we don't actually schedule time to rest. It's as strange as it sounds. We need to schedule some time to rest, and this is a concept I picked up when I was like really looking into fitness. And in the fitness community, there's this concept of you going to the gym only like 3 or 4 days a week. The other days are your rest days where you don't do anything, which is very hard on your body, and you just rest your body, right? You just, let your muscles rest. Those 3 4 days you go to the gym, that's when you work out, and you work out your hardest. But the other days, you just let your body rest. This is because our bodies are not meant to push themselves, 24 hours a day, or every single day at the same intensity. You cannot do that. In fact, the people that appear on social media that are pushing themselves every single day, they are not actually pushing themselves. They have a very sustainable, whatever you call it, workout routine. They have a very sustainable training routine. They're not pushing themselves hard, like 110% every single day. They might look that way when they're shooting commercials. You might see Dwayne the Rock Johnson, in a commercial, pushing it every, sweating and seeming like he's pushing himself. But you never know. That might be his normal, or he's just doing that for the commercial once a month, maybe. Or again, with these things, you never know in Hollywood how many drugs are inside one's body. So never take these things, this social media, this advertising thing, very seriously. Right? The advertisement we see on TV, they're like a very distorted version of reality. They're like the superficial version of reality. Social media is that on steroids. So it takes advertisement to the very next level. So if you are looking at on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter, and they're seeing these people, they're achieving so much, they're so productive, they're so fit, they're so happy. You have to remember that to do that, either they are missing out on some other aspect of life, and they are probably going to burn out pretty soon, which is a real thing. And when it comes to creators, so many creators make videos about or make content about them burning out, or some just burn out silently and nobody knows about it. So it's a very open but hidden secret inside the creator community, where everybody's burned out to some degree. So just don't look at them and think that you are lagging behind. You are on time. You don't need to push yourself. It's it's better to be sustainable. It's better to push yourself less and do this long term, rather to do this in a very short period of time. And the success you gain, the financial gain you have, that you have to then spend that money to just for medical expenses, because your burning out actually affected your health. So that's something I would just wanted to add to the conversation. And great points you had there, Indra. So back to you.
Yeah, I loved everything that you enhanced there with your points. And it made me think actually of the importance of setting and being able to maintain our boundaries. And when I say setting boundaries, I mean even something that you mentioned, success minded, which was the point on making sure that we schedule downtime, breaks, whatever we need, time to eat, because that's part of setting our own boundaries, right? That's part of putting that time aside for ourselves, prioritizing ourselves, right? And by making sure that we create a little bit of that white space, uh, I started doing intentional um, intentional breaks. And I started scheduling this when I was going through the actual process of burnout. And this was something that really changed everything for me by even just putting, okay, 10 minutes here in between a meeting, in between a Zoom, whatever you have, is I'm just going to take that 10 minutes before I schedule something else. And it really gives you that moment. Those 10 minutes are precious, even 15 sometimes if you had a really hectic morning. Give yourself that 15 minutes that maybe you need to just walk outside, get some fresh air, um, you know, get a cup of tea, do whatever you need to do. Take your time to prepare for the next meeting rather than just rush. There's so much that we can do to prepare ourselves. And that's also part of setting boundaries, even with yourself, making these agreements. Okay, making agreements with yourself that you're going to acknowledge that you need a break, that you do for you in order to be performing at your optimum and at your best, you're going to schedule these things in. And at first, it seems like, wow, this is a little bit of extra work, but it's really not, because as you're setting up meetings for your day or your schedule, you just kind of pop in, okay, I'm going to take 10 minutes here, I'm going to take 10 minutes there, I'm going to take 15 minutes here, because that's been a lengthy, morning or afternoon. And it's really amazing what intentional breaks can do for you. Intentional break setting from somebody that has burnt themselves out and now takes these breaks. It's incredible. I want to also at this point extend a warm welcome to our friends who are supporting this space, who have joined us. We have Inner Practitioner here. Thank you so much for joining us. Do feel free to come up and speak. Make sure you're connected with Inner Practitioner, a great account. Also, Written Notes. Thank you so much for supporting the space. Another great account. Make sure you're connected to that account as well. Bunsen and Beaker, our partners, the pet account, the two adorable dogs on there, they have amazing spaces with science spaces on Tuesday nights usually, but not this week. And Saturday night is pet chat, of course. Thank you so much, Jeff Funk, for joining us as well. And wow, there are so many people here. I'm going to do a really quick shout out, and my apologies if I miss out on some of the wonderful people in here because the circles are moving. But here we go. Okay. FedEx, Nish, Isha, Naf, Ashwanda, Nazaful, Ricardo, Isaac, Muhammad, Cool, Joseph, Caradon, Rooney, Ali, iMedia, Nobody, Vishwa, Didex, Slickman, John, Kathy, Stephen, Shobert, Number 10, Princess, Volison, Steph Bro, Julie, Nisabi. Wow, I butchered that one. I'm so sorry. Um, Rev, uh, Local Man, Cease Jr., Peace, Lazar, Hassin, Annette, Perfecto, John is in the house. Annette is in the house. Danielle, thank you so much. Also, special thanks and shout out to Inspirational Quotes, our dear friend Seth said, for always supporting our spaces, for joining us. Do connect with that account, everybody, as well. A wonderful, wonderful account that you must follow and check out the content. RV Viking, T. Uh, we have Ritesh, C. Daly, Debbie's in the house. Okay, I think I mentioned everybody. Lazar, Isha. Thank you all for joining us. This is such a special community, and we really value you all for being here and joining this space, of course, and this important discussion. And we are going to be inviting up some speakers at this point. So do request to speak if you want to come on up. And usually we do connect with people that we know, um, especially that we're connected with, that we know in the space, because just we get a lot of complaints from this community when there are people who come up and um, are not speaking politely or anything else. So just so you know that, if if you can't come up, although today it could be technical issues, particularly since we've started this space. And thank you so much for everybody that has found us after the space crashed. We really appreciate you coming back.
Hi, Indra. How are you doing today?
Hey, we're having a great chat. A little bit of a rocky start. The space actually crashed. So, really thankful that so many people came back to support.
Yeah, it did. I'm getting a little bit of like robotic voice with you too. How is my audio?
Yours is good.
Okay,
Uh,
perfect.
yeah, okay. Love to hear your thoughts on this topic of burnout.
Right. So I think my suggestion, and I can speak from experience as being incredibly busy because I run the Bunsen and Beaker account on the side of a very full time job. I'm a classroom teacher. I teach chemistry to high school kids, and that during the day is very busy. And then on top of that, I have the science podcast. So I've got three things going on. And one of the things is I was feeling a couple weeks ago. There's a good quote that Bilbo Baggins gives Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings. He says he feels like too much he feels like butter scraped over too much bread. And that's what I felt I was doing. Like there's only one of me, and I was like trying to do all of this stuff. And I was definitely feeling burnout. And when you start to feel that way, you have to just focus on the main parts of your life. Like my job, teaching, of course, is the most important, but also yourself and your mental health and your physical fitness and things like that. So I took a couple days off social media. I let things coast. I was like, you know what? People are gonna be okay with the Bunsen and Beaker accounts not tweeting or posting videos for a couple days. And that's the biggest burnout strategy that I could suggest is you'll start to feel it as you have more experience where things that you used to bring you joy are a chore. Like normally when I make content for Bunsen and Beaker, the account I have so much fun. But I wasn't anymore. I was getting grouchy. I was like, oh, this is just not fun. Took a couple days off, and then my creativity came back, and I made a whole bunch of goofy little TikToks and um, Instagram reels that I've been posting here on Twitter, and they've been a hit with their fans. I mean, they haven't gone viral or anything like that, but I've really enjoyed making them. And I think if I didn't take a step back, none of that creativity would have flowed. So that's what I just had to say.
Hey, thank you so much. Actually, that is a really powerful share, because I think the thing is the part that you mentioned, which really I guess probably jumped out to many of us in the space, is that you weren't enjoying creating the content anymore. I think that's one of the things that when we stop enjoying what we've been enjoying, and it becomes this task and it becomes just a lot of work, it feels like a lot of work, there's something that changes. And I think you really just narrowed in on that. So, what was like, because we're talking about prevention today of burnout strategies, what was something that started to, were there some lead up things that you can identify that kind of led you to like, okay, I need to take a break?
I think everybody's life has ebbs and flows where they're way more busy than normal. I know you with being a movie producer, there's probably days where you are just like the whole day is absolutely bananas. And I had multiple of those days in a row with my day job as being a classroom teacher. Like we're getting close to the end of the year, prepping kids for exams, marking stuff, feedback to students. Like all of that was like, you know, hours and hours a day. And then I was exhausted by the time I had time to think about Bunsen and Beaker and work on my podcast, which, like I said, normally I enjoy. And I think when the time for tasks changes drastically because of whatever's happening in your life, that's a warning sign that some of the stuff you do is going to be taking away from whatever kind of reserves that you have. You only have so much of yourself, and you can go way over on, occasionally, but if that is day after day after day after day, that was my warning sign. It was like 4 or 5 days in a row of working like, 6 in the morning till 11 at night. And I was like, this is stupid. I just want to watch Netflix.
And I hope that you did get to squeeze in some Netflix there, Jason.
I
Awesome.
played I played a video game and spent time with the dog, so it's all good.
Yay. Yeah, so it's look, I think this whole knowing yourself is a really big thing as well, and being connected to yourself. And that's what started to also come through as you were talking, that, you're familiar with how you are with your schedule, and as things got a little bit busy, for you, you notice things, and that's the piece that, you hopped on it really quickly. So kudos to you, because sometimes it can actually just escape us if we aren't connected to ourselves with our inner world, with how things are tracking for ourselves. That's where we can really kind of let things escape, and it's basically managing your stress. Like, how do you manage your stress? When is it the right time to take a break? Um, Last week was a really good example of this as well. Well, Success Minded wasn't feeling the best. And so I mean, I really enjoy running these spaces with him, but I could have run the Friday space. But I also thought maybe this is an opportunity for me to take Friday off, so I don't burn myself out again, because I had other things to do, other projects to be looking at, and also just it gives a break, right? It gives me a break. It gives He's taking a break. It made sense that I could allow myself to take a break. It's not a bad thing to maintain your own kind of balance. And that's what it really comes down to. When I was writing this thread, and there's a thread that's posted in the chat, and yesterday I posted it on my Twitter account for those of you that are going to be listening to the replay, or in our forever home for this space on the YouTube channel. It's on my Twitter page, and I'll provide a link everywhere so that everybody can find it, and it's actually in the chat. But it really came down to, for me, and I know everything's going to be different for everybody, but it's really this word of balance, and how we're finding balance, for ourselves. And sometimes you really have to step back. And I mean, we heard it from Jason from the Bunsen and Beaker account. Just taking a break and knowing when to stop is a huge prevention, I feel, strategy. And sometimes if you are a avid journaler, or maybe you don't even journal, but writing things out, and actually maybe even sometimes prompting yourselves with some questions of, how am I feeling lately? Or, I'm feeling really exhausted. Why could that be? Like, just, I know this sounds really sort of basic, but I have done this exercise and it has helped to keep things at bay. Because then I start writing a little bit, and at first I may not get the answer, and then things start to flow, and I figure out where are the areas that I do need to bring some balance in again. So the thing is that this is always going to be an ongoing thing, but we have to remember to not be demanding with ourselves, and to treat ourselves kindly, to treat ourselves with kindness. And look, it's there's so much out there about treating others with kindness, and that's very, very important. But you also have to treat yourself with kindness. So, when you fill your cup up, then there's so much to share with others. But if you're running on empty, you've got very little to share with others. I mean, you're depleting yourself. And if you deplete yourself, you can't help others. You can't be of service to others. And that's why sometimes we're just going to take those breaks on social media, just like the Bunsen and Beaker account uh, took the break for Tuesday's space. We took a break on Friday. So these things are going to come into play in different areas in your life. Take a break from something and see how you feel. And to tell you the truth, I felt really excited to come back today and do this space. So, Jason, I'm going to throw it over to you. Are you looking forward to coming back on Saturday night after having a break on Tuesday?
Well, the break was not because of burnout. I was at an interbaccalaureate conference in Florida, so I was flying back from Florida to Canada. So, but the break happened before that. Uh, I am excited for. Yeah, I am excited. I'm definitely rejuvenated. And maybe it's because I was like in crazy hot weather for a bit. Maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, I am excited to come back. It was the days leading up to that, like last Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's when the break was specifically. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so good to hear that you got some extreme sunshine, I dare say, in Florida.
I didn't get eaten by a gator, so we're good.
That's the most important thing, I feel that.
But I did swim in the ocean, and it was like the Gulf of Mexico Ocean. Um, what the heck is up with that water? It's like bathtub temperature. I'm used to like
Oh,
having to wear a wetsuit to swim in the ocean.
oh my gosh. Okay, well that sounds okay. Well, that was a great break then. Okay. And thank goodness that you didn't get eaten by a shark or anything else.
Well, I
Oh my
was wondering why nobody was swimming in the ocean. I was like, do these people know something I don't? Were there signs up I missed? Am I going to get eaten by a shark?
well, okay, it's similar to the the huge sharks in Australia. Oh, you don't go really deep out because of that. But yeah, well, I'm so glad that you came back to us in one piece, not eaten by a shark and not eaten by the gators. That's good. Yay. Okay, I'm really
Indra, can I ask a
curious.
question about the United States?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is mellow yellow? That was a soft drink down there. Why? What is that? What flavor is mellow yellow?
Oh, I haven't had it. I've seen it everywhere. Steven's laughing.
Sounds
Steven,
like
get up here. Maybe
sounds kind
Jeff
of
can
like
answer. Pineapple? No. Pineapple. Mellow yellow. Okay.
there's a
They call
song
it,
about it. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
they call it mellow yellow. Okay. Jeff, can we employ your assistance? Oh, okay. Stephen is coming up. Thank goodness to save the day on
Is,
this question.
isn't Mellow Yellow like in the same competitive class as like a Mountain Dew? Isn't it like almost like the same sort of lemon-like, sugary overload? I mean, right? Isn't it like the same thing, Mellow Yellow?
Well, I was very scared because like there's you say if it's yellow, let it mellow, and I was like, why would you name a soft drink after that?
Well, maybe it was on purpose to sell soft drinks. Subliminal, man. Come on. So, great space as always. Thank you so much. It's been a while, and I'm glad to see a lot of familiar faces on here. So, I was just thinking, just listening in, and the whole conversation really reminds me, like, there's one of the strongest forces in the universe, in my opinion, when it comes to anything from work to life to business, is comparison. And I think comparison is just it's one of the it's one of the I don't say ugliest, but it's just one of those things that sort of sends you in a different place, right? And there's the difference between comparison and being competition, by the way, or being competitive. It's like a wide gap, right? It's like Grand Canyon wide. And there's nothing wrong with being competitive, but I think that once you enter that realm of comparison, man, it's really hard. It's really hard day to day, business wise, social, online. It's really hard not to compare yourself, and it's like a fake sort of benchmark to follow, and it's really really tough. I know I suffer from it sometimes, even, and I'm an extremely competitive person by nature, just growing up playing sports and in college and all of that. But yeah, comparison is what really chops me at my knees, and I just fall crumbling. So I think that's part of burnout, to be honest with you. Um, as what is a suggested cure? And I sort of went through this a couple of years ago, but like, I think everyone's read like Stephen Covey's seven highly, I forget what it's called, effective skills, or 7 habits of effective people, I believe is. And like the number two advice on there was to always um, do and plan with the end in mind, which basically means that you create a vision. What is that transformation of yourself, for yourself, your mind, your body, your family, many years from now, and sort of use that like as the lighthouse to pull you into the shore. And I think that right there, that statement has always helped me. Like when I don't feel like writing a tweet, when I don't feel like creating content, when I don't feel like doing something, I always for like, okay, what's my end game? Like, what if I were to look forward? What do I want to? I want to be with my family on a Costa Rican beach, writing from my laptop. Um, and what do I need to ignore? What things do I need to ignore that's going to prevent me from accomplishing that dream? So yeah, when I'm stressed, I think about, well, what's the end game? Like, think about the end first and weed out everything else that does not contribute to get you to that point. So I just wanted to share that. I am the king of burnout, no doubt. And I do not drink mellow yellow because that's just not my thing, man. Sorry.
Okay. Hey, I love the reverse engineering that you apply to yourself, Jeff. That sounds like a really good idea. Everybody in the tribe, this is really great advice. This reverse engineering piece that Jeff you just shared. I love that so much because then you can really plan towards that goal with the big picture in mind. Uh, so that's a really great thing to do. Um, and yeah, thanks for also for sharing that you are the burnout king.
Oh my gosh. And like Jason said, I very much appreciate and love my 9 to 5. I mean, wonderful people, a great schedule, allows me to learn and continuously push myself. So I very much appreciate that 9 to 5. And I'm not going to be one of those folks online and just like, hey, just quit your 9 to 5 and just start writing. No, I like my 9 to 5, but I also have 4 kids and happily married and a great career. And so, man, it's just a dance. And I sort of just visualize every day, like visualize yourself like a net, and you only catch the things that matter and let everything else flow away into the abyss, and try not to sink while you're at it. So yeah, burnout is always top of mind for just about everyone I know.
Yeah, and another great share there, Jeff. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, love to hear your thoughts on some of the shares that we've had. Success minded.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm lost here. I went out for a bit, and everybody's laughing at something like Jello yellow. What the hell is
Mel,
that?
okay, Mellow Yellow is a drink here in the US, and Bunsen and Beaker asked about that. But I do not partake in that. It's I've seen it everywhere. I've seen the ads. and Jeff doesn't either. So we couldn't really comment on that. But anyway, Jeff shared a lot of great things, and for anybody else that also missed it, you can play it back in the replay. But what was really amazing was that he was talking about reverse engineering things. So looking at the big picture and the goals and working himself back from that, working his way back. And then also the second bonus that you shared in that last piece that you just spoke about, Jeff, which was really a great point as well, fabulous point, in fact, was about thinking of things as putting out a net and letting some things just slip through the net. Wow, I think that says it all, right? Inner practitioner, warm welcome to the space, and love to hear some of your thoughts on burnout prevention strategies as well. You have a corporate job too.
Hi Indra, hi Success Minder, hi Stephen, hey Eileen, hey everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I don't really get burned out. I used to a lot, but not anymore. I get stressed out a lot. The reason why is I work about 12 hours a day, and recently one of my coworker quit, so we had to pick up the part of his work. So all of us are doing more work than usual. Uh, besides the long hours of work, in addition, that my body is going through the whole body Kundalini process. So the energy hits me about every other second. And whenever it hits me, it interrupts my thought process. And I get drifted. I go from flow state to reality or my mind back and forth. So that's taking a long time to adjust. I'm still learning. Plus, the side effect of that is that my inner self is both inside and outside my body. It's like a strange expansion. So I feel like I'm in my body, but I'm also outside my body and it's expanding. So that's kind of weird. I'm making adjustments to that. So on top of all these things, plus the work, by the time I get home, I feel like a zombie. Then I need to sit down and spend the time to create a tweet for tomorrow. And the tweet process usually take like an hour or two because I don't want to just make up some shit. So I have to have an idea, clear idea, write the first draft of a tweet, read it back, look at each word, see how the people will feel, what will they get from it possibly, and start rearranging words and sentences and punctuation. So by the time I finish, it's maybe about 15th or 16th revision. That's the final revision, and then I'm set. By then, I'm like, oh, dead. I don't want to do anything. That's pretty much like my day. So I said I couldn't go on like this. I must do something. So the solution, what I realized was this: time management, it's attention management. Attention management, it's moment management. That tells me at this particular moment, I need to have clear idea what I'm going to do, what I will do, or what I'm doing. It has to be conscious decision. Because this is what I used to do. Because I have so much work piled up, I'll jump into my work and I don't have a clear vision of what the fuck I'm doing. I just want to start get busy so I can start really finish and push this thing aside so I can move on to the next task. That was my pattern. But because I don't know what I'm doing, my mind just pushing me like, get this out of the way, get this out of the way. So what end up happens, I go round and around, I'm changing all these codes back and forth, but I don't have clarity. Then I end up sitting down to look at the codes. I'm a programmer. Look at the codes. Then I get clarity. Then I solve the problem. I say, why am I doing this? Why am I listening in my mind, pushing myself, jumping there? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So the thing I changed was this. Before I start a project, or to solve a problem, I don't do anything. I sit there, look at the problem until I gain a clarity of what my next move is. Then I do it. I don't need to have a whole picture, clarity of the whole picture. No, just my next move. And that alone saved me so much stress and time. And it became an inner practice that I don't just blindly follow my mind tendencies of wanting to jump in there, get this done, and push this away so I can do the next task. So I've been practicing that, but that was still not enough. I was still getting stressed out. In addition, I realized one time I felt like my head was going to explode. I just said, I can't do this. Stop. And then I realized something. After my body went through a really high stress situation, it requires time for my body to quote unquote return to normal. And usually it takes a few days. It's like a graph. There's this process for going through extreme stress and returning back to normal. There's like a period of time. And during this period of time, I have to be careful not to over stress again because you are piled up this return back to normal process. And for me, it's usually about 3 days. It takes 3 days to return back to quote unquote normal. And I wasn't aware of this situation in my body. I just kept piling on top of it. And that really hurt my health. And it didn't solve my stress situation at all. Another thing, but that wasn't enough. So what I started to doing was I realized I need to take more breaks, like you guys said. So in between projects, I'll take 5 to 10 minutes. I'll just sit there and relax, do whatever I want, or do nothing, or scroll Twitter or look at news or whatever. It doesn't matter. And then take a deep breath and jump back in there and do my work. And that really helped a lot. Another thing that helped is that I need about like 30 minutes to an hour me time alone. I don't sleep. I just sit there. I just kind of stare into nothing and just let my body relax and follow my breath. And that really helped me too. And this is what I want to share with you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, inner practitioner, for sharing. Uh, just so many gems there that you shared, and from clarity, awareness, and of course the breaks seems to be ringing true. It seems to be a thing that all the speakers are sharing here: the importance of breaks and solitude. Just sometimes getting away from, I mean, our jobs are highly stressful. And that was another thing that has also been coming through with all the speakers here is stress. So, this awareness of stress and how it affects us. And what I really found very interesting in what you said, inner practitioner, was that you pause or you just do nothing before you even start the next task. So it sounds like you're breaking the task down, the actions into smaller bite-sized tasks. So you're not even overwhelming yourself. Please jump in and clarify if I'm assuming something different.
Oh, not at all. You're spot on. I'm washing dishes, if there are a lot of dishes, and I'm all tired.
Right?
Well, what I started doing was this. I'm going to relax 10 minutes, and I'm going to wash the spoons and the bowls. And then I'm going to relax 10 minutes. I'll go back and wash the chopsticks and the plates. And then I'll relax for 10 minutes. I'll come back and clean the sink. I'm trying to learn to relax more during this task because my body condition is not so good. I'm like a zombie and I have to wash all the dishes. That's going to pile more stress on my body. So I break it down into little parts. Work, break, work, break, work, break. And those 10 minutes in between, it's not going to hurt the dishes or anything. It's better for the future version of me, for my body. There's another thing I forgot to share is that I started to monitor my body when things start getting really stressful, I notice my anxiety comes out more. It's building up more. That's I'm trying to use that as a reminder to slow down and to stick to my game plan of breaking down into pieces, having breaks, also have clarity of the next move before I start. And that's starting to help a lot. Before I used to let anxiety build all the way, what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do. And then I have a lot of problems. It's just not good for the health. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for emphasizing that piece. I think this is a really common thing that we can get just so overwhelmed with looking at these are all the things that I have to do, and particularly, the big picture of it all, and not realizing that we can break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces and just complete each action, and even just on each action break it down again if need be. And the example of the dishes was just perfect because, well, why do you have to do them all if you've just got home from work and you're feeling like a zombie and you're exhausted? Well, just do a few and then come back, take a break, and come back and finish them off if you're lacking in energy. And that goes with anything that we're doing. Uh, Shifting our focus from whatever is causing us stress or trying to complete something is a huge game changer. And that's something that you also mentioned in a practitioner. Um, Jeff mentioned that earlier, Bunsen and Beacon, and also Success Minded, that just sometimes we are not giving things our awareness. And by focusing in on that, on our awareness and realizing, okay, I'm starting to just not feel good. I need to take a break. Take time away from that thing. Give yourself what would it be to take 5 or 10 minutes away and just go and sit down? Um, oh, I see your hand up again. Oh, back over to you and a practitioner.
Thank you. Something else came. Yeah, I want to share this quote unquote ritual with you guys. Maybe it will help a little bit. And one ritual I developed is that the shower time is very sacred time. I used to just jump in and okay, I'm done. So I can move go on with my day or my night, whatever. Then one day my body told me, "Hey, slow down. You're rubbing the arm too hard." My body actually told me that. Be gentle. Oh, okay. So I started being gentle with my body. But before I wash a body part, I look at it. I try to be present and know what I'm doing. So I'm consciously, slowly washing my body parts part by part. And then when I'm done, I actually just let the water hit my head quite a bit because there's all dirty things on top of dirty energy, and water actually washes a lot of dirty energy off. And by the time I'm done, the shower takes longer, it wastes more water, yes. But by the time I'm done, I feel like I've gone through a spa or something. It just feels more deeper rested when I'm present, taking my time to wash my body, and afterwards taking my time to dry my body. Just doing conscious, as present as I can. And the results for the body is so much better. This one I want to share. Thank you.
Okay, that was a great example of self-care and giving yourself the time and honoring yourself. I think what came through to me was honoring ourselves because we just rush, rush, rush. The other thing is, uh, so being mindful, this mindfulness of being present when we're doing things for ourselves, when we're in the shower, when we're brushing our teeth. Be mindful. Don't float off into the next thing I've got to do as soon as I get out of the shower is do this, this, and this. Okay. Because that adds to stress. That's just increasing your anxiety and stress levels. But being present and going, wow, look how fluffy, the bubbles are, or wow, the water is just such the perfect temperature, and enjoying that moment. You can even just feel like the water, when Inner Practitioner was talking about, noticing the water and feeling it on his head and everything, you can even feel like the water is washing away your stress. Like, oh wow, this is just so wonderful. It's actually freeing me. It's making me feel lighter. Because you have that heaviness when you get in there, like, oh, okay, I've got to get in the shower. But just to take a couple of deep breaths and enjoy the process, and it is actually washing away the stress. That's what I really picked up from that experience. And that's a great reminder in a practitioner, because I haven't done that in a while. I haven't allowed myself to feel like, oh, the shower is actually washing away. It's taking away the stress. And I've been good with, okay, don't stop thinking about the next thing you have to do, but take it to another level, everybody. Think about, oh, just the enjoyment of the water and what a blessing it is. Hey, Success Minded, back over to you for some thoughts.
Yeah, great thoughts being shared out here, and thank you so much, practitioner, for sharing all that wisdom, and also Jeff. The parts that I was able to catch, they were great and great. Something I also wanted to add was something that helped me kind of not move towards, get out of this cycle of burnout, where I mentioned my story earlier, where I was, pushing myself too hard, building a brand, building a business, but also, getting to the best shape of my life, right? I was pushing myself way, way, way too hard. And the thing that actually helped me was something that I wanted to do, but could not do, but eventually happened because of life circumstances. So let me take you back to 2019. I joined college. Okay, I was a pretty studious student. I wanted to do well in class, and I wanted to be one of the best athletes in college. And I set out to do that. The thing is, it is very taxing. Okay, it is very taxing, and a year, not even a year into it, I kind of started feeling these symptoms of burnout, and I felt like everyone around me was the same. Every student around me was the same. And if you've been to college, I think you can relate to this situation where you're excited, all excited, joining college, and a few weeks, even a few months into it, you feel burnt out, and everyone's around you decentivized, and everyone is just wants to stay away. All the seven signs of burnout, 5 or 6 you can like notice right away. And yeah, I started feeling that in a while, and then something actually, I won't say wonderful because it was very tragic for a lot of people, but something wonderful happened for me was that college is closed. It was 2020, April 2020, and it was the lockdown, and it was, although very bad for a lot of people, I know, but for me it was a welcome break, because I took a break from that system. And what I ended up doing was, where some of my peers were still focused on that grind, on that specific grind, I took on a new grind. I started doing something else. As I told you, I started building this business. I started building this Twitter account, and I started working on my physical, self. And eventually, that also turned into a tedious session. Like I did not want to do it at a point, and it became repetitive. This creative process, although it is said to be very creative, at the end, sometimes, if when you have to create content for, at this point, not people, but algorithms, right? Every social media, it's like creating content for the algorithm and not for the people. It gets very repetitive. It gets very, very tedious, and very, it's not a very good experience for so the non-creator people here. It's a not very good feeling. But once that happened, I was starting to feel a lot more burnt out than when I was in college. And this is when something wonderful again happened. And a lot of my peers hated it. But the thing is, it was normalcy again. We had to go back to college. We had to attend classes. We had to, study for, after taking a break for 1.5 years. And that shifted my whole priorities again. That shifted my whole work again, where I was a student who also had a running business. So it was a very different experience to what I had a few months ago. When I started as a student, I was talking to all these kids, or you can call it young adults my age, and then when I started a business, I'm talking to these, millionaire people. I'm talking to these business gurus. I'm talking to these big creators. I'm talking to 40-year-old people, 50-year-old people, which was a big thing for me. I'm learning from life experiences, and then a shock happens again, and I go back to talking to my peers again, people my age, and it was different. I'm not judging anyone who is better, who is not, but it's very different. And my perspective, my whole scenario, it kept changing over and over. And what this enabled me to do was that if I realized that if I stayed somewhere at it for a long time and I kept doing that thing, it eventually led me to a state of burnout. But if I shifted what I'm doing, if I shifted my work, if I shifted my priorities and my whole atmosphere, it then made me start fresh. Made me start new, and it took away a lot of these signs of burnout. And I'm like, because my brain is now adding more neurons, you can say, to my brain. And it got to a point again where I was like, okay, pandemic's over. I end my schooling, and that was like like 3 months, like more like 6 months of a break. It was very hectic in the moment. Last years of college, it gets pretty hectic, and again after that, it was again being a businessman again, talking to these very successful people online, and this constant uh, seesaw, this constant back and forth of shifting the perspective. This kept me out of burnout for a long time. So that is something I recommend you try to do as well. If you have a daily routine, if you have something that's very tedious, although I'm a big proponent of having a morning routine, I'm not really keen on having a life routine where you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. It's great that you have a job that you have to do every day, but you also have to make sure that you're being adventurous. You're doing new things, and you're picking up new hobbies. You're exploring new things. This is something I do every day. Where online, if you see me online, I'm not like looking at one single thing. I have phases. I have phases of if this week I'm exploring something, I'm researching on something, I'd have a different interest next week and a different interest next week. It keeps my brain activated. It keeps my brain learning. And sometimes, I go down rabbit holes of some information, and it's a whole different experience. So I keep doing this thing every day. That's how my brain works, and that's how I have been able to avoid burnout for a very long time. So just something I wanted to add there, and I recommend you do as well. And of course, as Indra mentioned, is mindfulness is a very important tool. It's not related to what I was talking about a few moments earlier, but mindfulness is also a very important tool, very useful tool in preventing burnout. The things like journaling and meditation, and these are very very crucial tools, that you need to have in your arsenal to prevent burnout to whatever degree. Also, on a related note, in a practitioner, you mentioned a very insightful thing, actually. Where you said time management is attention management, is moment management. Is it the same thing as being mindful? Just curious.
Yeah, being mindful is being aware from moment to moment. So yes.
Gotcha. Okay, then it is mindfulness in action. Then, yeah, you're also taking action on the moment, in the moment, on what you need to do. So I thought that was actually very very smart. How you put it, how you structured it. So thank you so much for sharing, and also Jeff, thank you so much for coming up and sharing. And Bunsen, although I did not get to hear you, I was like outside the space, but I will go and listen to the replay of this space and definitely catch on what you were saying. And if you joined in late, people in the audience, if you joined in late and you could not hear some part of the conversation, you can always go back and listen to the replay. This is the best thing about spaces, right? It is recorded, and you can always go back, listen to it, and catch on the parts that have been shared. There have been a lot of things that have been shared, and now Indra and I have tried a lot to bring people to the awareness of what it actually feels like to be burnt out, and also some of the preventive measures. So if you have missed that, I would highly recommend you go back and listen. Also, on another note, I would like to remind our listeners about today's sponsors, which again is us, me, the Positivity Vibe Tribe community. And we wrote a book. We published the book last week. We hosted a lunch party about it. And we have decided to extend the free period, the launch discount of 100%. We're literally giving it away for free. We are giving away the book until today. And so if you're listening to this right now, this is your last opportunity to get the book. You can get it by visiting my profile and clicking on my pinned tweet, or you can visit Indra's profile and click on the link in her bio. Or if you don't want to go down so much, there's the chat button on the bottom right corner of the screen where you're listening to the space. And you can go there, and you should be able to see that. Maybe scroll down one side, and you'll be able to see that. So it's an easy link. You put in your email, and we'll send the book to your email. I have got complaints that some people have not got the emails. You will get there. It's just that sometimes it takes about an hour. Though. Sometimes it's just instant. You put in the email and it's there. The book is there. But sometimes it takes about an hour. I talked to their representative, their sales representative, the service I'm using, and they said it's got into something with the server side and they cannot do anything about it. So yeah, that's something we just have to deal with. So in a few hours, I'm going to close the free book link, and then it's going to be a $25 book that you will have to buy if you want to read it later on. So this is your last opportunity. Just go there, and it's gonna. If you don't download it, the link is gonna be there, and you can download it later on and read it later on if you want to. But I would recommend you not lose this opportunity unless you want to spend $25. Of course, that's benefit for me only. So, uh, back to you, Indra. And that's just something I wanted to add there. And great conversation we're having today.
Thanks so much, Success Minded. And yes, we are so excited about our ebook. So thank you so much to everybody that's already signed up for the ebook. And thank you to everybody that's going to sign up. We really appreciate you. And it's our way of giving back to this community and just showing all of you that we really appreciate you so much. So, hey, I'm going to swing past our panel of people here and see if there are any last thoughts, advice on this prevention of burnout, or any reflection on what's been shared. Over to Bunsen and Beaker first. Jason.
Yeah, if you think burnout is creeping up on you, my suggestion is to get yourself near a dog and just sit with them and give them a pet, because your stress and your anxiety and all of that will either be washed away by their slobbery licks or by just their being in the moment with them. It's not going to fix your burnout, but I think it's a good substitute for continuing down a path of stress. There's my final thoughts.
Wow. Love that. Thank you so much, Jason. Get yourself a dog, get yourself an animal if you haven't already. Snuggle up with your pet. What could be better? Absolutely. Over to you, Jeff, for some last thoughts on this topic of prevention burnout.
I think it's like anything else. I think it's just a matter of really listening to yourself, and you know your body and your mind, and what drives you better than anybody else. I think that ignoring it is just, it's like that. I read somewhere that like if you procrastinate, it's actually people like to treat procrastination as a fix, right? They by simply say, oh yeah, I want to push this to something else, then that'll be the fix. And actually, and medically, I read this, that procrastination actually creates unneeded stress on your brain, because it actually, that very thought or that thing that needs to get accomplished remains top of mind. So subconsciously, it's just there. It's always lingering. It's always lingering. It's always lingering, right? And so I think that listening to your body when it comes to burnout, there's no ignoring it. There's really no ignoring it, and there's really, the only way to really deal with it is to face it, and to just realize, I do have to take a break, and I do have to find ways to remedy the situation. Ignoring burnout is just not the way to go, in my opinion. So I'm not a medical doctor, but having gone through bouts of anxiety caused by high workload and that sort of thing, certainly I've experienced it to know that ignoring it would have been the wrong thing to do. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing. Again, you always share so much value in the space. We really enjoyed hearing all your examples as well. Okay, so over to inner practitioner. Love to hear your last words and thoughts on this burnout prevention space.
Something else came, so I want to share with you guys. I'm about to drive. Something told me to go online, look at Google something called vagus nerve. So I did. And on there it said that if I sleep on my right side, it's better for my vagus nerve, for my nervous system. So I wasn't sure if that was true or not, but they say science says that. However, I need to practice, try it, and I'll know if it works for me or not. So I started to sleep on my right side. It was very difficult to adjust because I've been sleeping on my back all my life. But then, as I started to sleeping on my right side more and more, I found out something was different. And what's different for me was when I wake up in the morning, my body actually feels slightly lighter and I have less anxiety. This is the only thing I've noticed, but I've only been sleeping on my right side for about a month or so. But right now it's kind of helping me to have a better start in the morning. So I want to share with this to you guys. I always end up on my back anyway, but when I try to fall asleep, I just sleep on my right side. It seems to help. And also that, yes, this is a very serious matter. If you don't consciously think of a game plan to handle your stress or getting closer to burnout to prevent it, you or your body or both will pay a price. So this is a very serious thing. It's a really good thing to come up with a good game plan or master it and keep adjusting the thing that will work for you. All the best. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks so much, inner practitioner. Really appreciated that. Something else new to try, everyone. Think about how you're sleeping. I know that that was really interesting, sleeping on your right side, because I know sleeping on your left side is good if you're feeling like you need a little bit of support in your digestion. And I also recently read about that, and I tried that as well. Getting up, having a glass of water, and then sleeping on my left side if I feel like, my digestion needs a bit of support. But I wasn't aware of sleeping on the right side, because yes, I'm also a sleeper on my back most of my life. But there is something very comforting about sleeping on your right side. So that's interesting, inner practitioner. Thank you very much for sharing that about the vagus nerve and sleeping on your right side. That might be why it is very comforting to curl up on your right side. I need to explore that a little bit more now. Um, hey, we have one of our long-time members in the community coming up. I'm going to invite Richard. We're starting to close up the space, Richard, but love to hear your thoughts on if you've got some last thoughts on burnout prevention strategies.
Yeah, Once I had to take a real deep dive down into some data that was very intensive, and it caused me to suffer burnout trying to keep everything in my head and keep everything going on my screen. So I knew what I was dealing with, and it caused me to suffer burnout because it was just a mental overload and physically exhausting. And also, I've found out that if I lay on my left side, uh, my bowels are on my left side and my liver is on my right. And if I've eaten something like beans or something that might be gassy, uh, you'll find you'll relieve the pressure from within yourself uh, by just laying on your left side for a little while before you try to actually go to sleep with a lot of pressure on your upper organs.
Hey, thanks for sharing that too, Richard. Always appreciate your thoughts and dropping into the tribe. Hey, we're going to jump over to Nino. Thanks for dropping in towards the end of this space, Nino. I hope you're going to listen to the replay. Over to you for last thoughts on this topic of burnout.
Yeah, I kind of, because I do work on Wednesday, and obviously I appreciate you doing these spaces, but this topic really, speaks to me because this is something that I experienced when it came to Web3, when I first came into this space, Twitter and spaces, for the past year and a half. And I made my mistakes in 2022, but it was my to learn from that. And one of the things that I did to better myself was to time management and finding the balance with Web3 life, work, and then dealing with myself. So I would just plan on my week what I was going to do. Like, if you're going to be in this space here, that every day doesn't have to be the grind, right? If you're building something or, you're part of a corporation where you'll have certain days that's dedicated to a project or your company. But then if you're going to be here again, that is just going to other spaces where it's more relaxed. You're not trying to sell yourself. It's not about marketing, and you're just looking to connect with same-minded people, and then also incorporating every day in your life, doing some of the things that you're passionate about. If it's listening to music, if it's going for walks, or visiting your friends. Those are things that are important that you need to not neglect. Those are very important, and if they worked for me, I think it could work for other people. So those are the things that I talk about when I do my spaces, that it's, finding that balance and having a schedule in the space, you'll make it more enjoyable. Once again, thank you for the floor.
Hey, thank you so much, Nino, for dropping into the space. We always appreciate you and your support in the Positivity Vibe Tribe. Another long term member, and you're both sitting next to each other in the space. Thank you so much. Okay, success minded. What are your wrap up thoughts on this incredible space? And wow, all these incredible speakers and incredible listeners sitting here in our space.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for coming in here. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in to speak. Actually, and I see some more people requesting to speak. And I'm sorry, this is the end of the space today. It is 1:30 a.m. in India, and I do need to go to sleep. And I don't think Indra will be able to handle it all by herself after I'm gone. So unfortunately, we have to end the space here. We would have loved to, hear more stories and hear more from you guys and have these conversations and, get feedback from you guys. But, some things just, we have to put a hard stop to some things. Good things don't always last. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming in here. Some of you have stuck around from the very beginning, and I thank you from the deepest parts of my heart. We do these spaces every week, and you just coming in, it just, it's success for us. Just having you here, having you sit here, having you listen, that is, that means we have won the week. So thank you so much again for coming up. Thank you so much again for coming and listen. Thank you for contributing to the chat. And if you have been to the chat, you can always download our book for free. We're giving away as I'm repeating myself here, but it's free. It's your last chance to get it. If it a few hours later, it's going to be a $25 book. So just wanted to put it out there again. And also, if you join in late, you can always listen to the replay. It will go live the moment this space ends. And yeah, thank you so much again for everyone to come and listen after the initial problem we had where the space completely crashed and I could not hear anything, Indra could not hear anything, and nobody was able to do anything there. So thank you so much for finding us again. I love the community here. I love the conversations we have, and it's been another great space. And we will do this again on Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. That's 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then 7 p.m. British Standard Time. So love to see you there, and yeah, hope you have a lovely week.
Hey, what a wonderful wrap up. Thank you so much, my friend, Success Minded, for hosting this space with me. And thank you, everyone here in this space. Even if you're listening, you are bringing such a beautiful energy to this space, to this community. And we really appreciate you and value you. Thank you for also making time to drop in and be part of this community. We appreciate all the comments in the chat, and we will look over them after this space. Thank you to the speakers, of course. We are so blessed to have so many wonderful people that have been able to drop in and share with us in the space. And of course, on Friday, we are coming back and we're going to talk about, okay, this is a favorite fun topic that we love to talk about, and it's thoughts become things. So make sure that you set the reminder. We're going to set that space up in the next hour or two. So we'd love for you to join us back on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to discuss thoughts become things, because the power of our mind is incredible, right? And our thoughts are just unique, and we don't give them the awareness that we really need to. So we're super excited to come back and chat with you on Friday about thoughts become things. Don't forget to check out all the resources. Never miss a space. And there's a meme in the chat so that you can hit the bell and never miss a space with us. Sign up and get our free new ebook on mindful evolution. Speaking about being mindful. And also check out the thread that we posted. It was a great team effort by Success Minded and myself to create the thread yesterday on the 7 signs of burnout as a prevention strategy. So until Friday space, we're sending you love, light, and blessings.